Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. You've locked it into the session, Introduction to Handshake. And we are joined today by Jose Miguel and Kelly from the company, who both serve as relationship managers on the education success team. So thank you so much for coming today, and take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We're so excited to chat with you today about how students can really get the most out of Handshake. So today we are joining you. Hello. I'm Kelly Nicholson, relationship manager, and I'm also joined by Jose Miguel. So we are going to be talking you through a bit of an overview of Handshake today. Go ahead, Jose Miguel. So again, just moving into our little bit of an overview here of Handshake. So what we want to just introduce you to is our mission, and then a little bit about the product. And then discuss how colleges, employers, and students are all using the platform. So we are actually the largest early talent network. More than 90% of top universities are using Handshake to power their career centers and create this really unified network that employers can use to find talent. As you can see here, there's really three different sides of the Handshake platform. So we work with students and alumni, career services users, and employers, all different sides. Jose Miguel and I work specifically with career centers to help them get the most out of connecting with these students. So we do try to make it seamless for employers to connect with great candidates from all over and seek to ensure that everyone has access to these great opportunities. And Handshake is really designed for folks who are just getting started in their careers, right? Or looking to kind of pivot to a new industry. So we do not expect you to have a huge network of connections or previous experience in the field you're looking to get into. And so this should really resonate for you with your students that are like stepping into college and how they can kind of really start getting the most out of this platform right from the beginning. Next slide here. So just kind of wanted to point out that Handshake is really more than just a job board, right? So you can see here that there are really quite a few different things that students are allowed, that are permitted to do. So there's this job posting functionality. They can set up an appointment with someone from their career center. They can message employers. They can, really do a few different things, register for career fairs, reach out to different alumni, message with different peers, find an on-campus job if that's something that's offered at their institution. So really just want to give you an overview that there's a lot more that Handshake can do for students. And we do really hope that helps kind of drive that engagement and gets them interested in the platform in general. And then our next slide here is really just kind of showing that overview of the student view. So you can see what that mobile view looks like for a student. We do strongly encourage them to download this onto their phone. We find that level of engagement is really excellent for getting, that outreach to students and getting them engaged. You can also kind of see this event page for them so that they can, from our desktop browser, look at different events where they can meet with employers. And what's really important here is that they have this ability to get discovered. So employers are going to use things like their school, location, interests, and skills to search for and connect them with like an open role. And this is also a really great way for these students to get connected, right? So they can also proactively schedule live info chats with employers that might be directly related to a job or something like that. But just a really great way for employers to reach out to students and students to also directly reach out to those employers. And then the next piece of this that's also good to know is, while we have students kind of doing all of this different outreach and employers reaching out, the Career Center plays a really pivotal role in this as well. So what you see here is a view of the Career Center page, what that would look like for the school. So this would include a list of employers that the Career Center has curated directly for students. but also gives students a way, as I kind of discussed earlier, to connect with career services staff, book appointments, review resources that have been posted there for them, and even take a survey that maybe has been set up by the school. And then also here you have a view of the student profile page. So this is something we'll talk about a little bit more in more detail when we get into the product, but really building out that brand for the student, having them highlight, what it is that they're working on, their major, what their interests are, and also kind of any skills that they have will really kind of create this 360-degree view of the student and everything that they're interested in. So what we really try to do here is democratize opportunity for students. So our mission, that's always kind of been our mission, and we're looking to make sure that we expand upon this. So the first job that a student is going to get really matters. 43% of underemployment for recent college graduates is a real tragedy that we're facing right now. So it's a problem we're not going to try to stop solving. So we want to know that everyone is a student. We're all lifelong learners. And so for most of us, for most of your students, a career isn't necessarily a straight path. So the skills that we need kind of change over time. So what we want to do is kind of think more broadly about what it means to democratize that opportunity. And we really want to help students find a great job and find a meaningful career wherever they are on that journey. And I'm going to hand it off to Jose Miguel. We're going to talk a little bit about Handshake specifically in California.
Thanks, Kelly. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jose Miguel. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the impact Handshake is having in California. And I really find this slide to be super powerful because it really speaks to just the tremendous amount of impact we've had in the few short years that we've been a company. We've been around for over at least 10 years now at this point. And the work that we've been doing to engage with community colleges, engage with four-year institutions, and just leveraging those partnerships to assure that students like yourself who are getting ready to transition from high school to their early career have these opportunities. So when you look at these stats, there's an example of saying that, we're the #1 platform in California. That is not a small feat. These are some of the schools that we have partnerships with throughout the state of California. Some schools near Los Altos is De Anza College, Menlo, Foothills, San Jose, Santa Clara, just to name a few. Obviously, you can see Stanford's really popular, one of the bigger schools in California. So this kind of gives you a high-level overview that we're impacting over 1.3 million students in California who are using the platform. And there's over 97,000 plus employers that are partnering with Handshake to assure that students like yourself are getting opportunities every single day. And in this slide, we're showcasing a little bit more about how we're driving deeper engagement when it comes to the partnerships that we have with schools and employers. So as Kelly mentioned before, you saw that circle diagram that had the three-sided marketplace. So we serve employers, we serve students, and we serve educational partners. What you're seeing here is that we have over 12,000 employers that are serving community colleges. And out of those 12,000 employers that are using Handshake to work on community colleges, we have over 123,000 jobs and internship opportunities, which is a really powerful number when you come to think about how many opportunities are being accessed on a day-to-day basis, us being the #1 platform where students go find opportunities, but also the place where there's much more meaningful engagement where students and employers can connect. When we think about the Handshake network overall, so we have at this point over 800,000 employers. When we talk about the number of Fortune 500 company, every Fortune 500 company is on Handshake. And the percentage of job postings, this is not a lie, it is over 300% when we talk about the increase what we've seen with job postings. So it's really unique to have this opportunity where your student can transition out of high school, jump into a community college or four-year institution, know that Handshake is accessible to them, free, no charge, and then have this unique really opportunity where All they have to do is log in, create a profile, and the algorithm will do most of the work for them. In the next section of the deck, I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can explore Handshake in your career. So Kelly talked a little bit about how Handshake is built so that students have an opportunity to have access to jobs, right? So whether you're a college student looking for an internship or a college student graduating after your four-year degree, you can come back to Handshake if you decide that you don't want to continue on the job that you've had for that 1 year or 2 years. You can come back and restart your career on Handshake. That is the mission of why we want to democratize opportunities, but it's also in a unique way where students can come time and time again to update their profiles and start engaging with those employers where they left off. One of the premier features that Handshake offers that's really unique for students is the ability to connect with employers. Obviously, you can find this link with LinkedIn. You can find this with perhaps a school who has a messaging board or something like that sort. What's unique to Handshake is that employers find students. And that doesn't happen on every single platform, right? With Handshake, you have the ability to connect with an employer and schedule an interview. You also have the ability to participate in a career fair where you can meet with an employer for a 50-minute group session or meet with an employer for a one-on-one 10-minute session. Employers have the ability to connect with you and share a link, whether it's through Zoom or to use Handshake video to connect. This visualization is giving you a full-scale look as to what that looks like from the web version as well as the mobile version. So in this slide, we're diving a little bit more about Handshake and you. So what does it look like to create your Handshake profile? So we have to take this a little bit step further. It can't just be that you log in and you created your account and that's it. You have to actually do a little bit of work. What it comes down to is being able to showcase your interest, showcase your skills, and showcase your experiences. So that way the algorithm will help do some of the work. This means that you'll have to do some keyword searching to let the algorithm know that you want to look for a job in San Jose, but you want a remote job, or you want to look for a job across the country here in New York, and you want that job to be in New York City. Those are things that are important in the platform so that when you're looking to engage with employers, the actual platform knows what to feature for you so that you can see that on your feed. This visualization is showing you a picture of a profile, and it's giving you an opportunity to actually ask the questions, what are your interests? What type of role are you looking for? The profile feature is really seamless. You can pretty much complete your profile, your resume in less than 8 minutes. So one thing that's really unique about Handshake is how versatile the mobile app is. We have over 85% of our users using the mobile app when they're looking for job opportunities and when they're also looking to connect with employers. Everyone we know is obviously always using their phones, and they pretty much live on their phones 90% of the time. I'm not going to lie, this is how I live and work off of. So when we talk about how do you find your job in today's world, you're obviously using your phone to connect with everyone. Handshake is no different. One of the things that's really intuitive that you're seeing here, that's this actual animated image, it's called a student feed. This is a new release product that we're releasing hopefully very soon, if not by summer, where students will actually see the feed as if they were scrolling through Instagram or if they were scrolling through TikTok. What this is going to deliver is really unique opportunities. It's going to deliver opportunities that career services is offering to them. It's going to deliver information based on best practices, how to prepare for an interview, how to network at a career fair. It's a really cool tool and feature, and I'm really excited to be part of this unique opportunity where we're showcasing this to students. You as a high school student will find it even much more intuitive because by the time you start college, you'll be able to see a completely different version of it. So really excited about it. Here are some stats. So we obviously have this where you can access it from the iOS or the Google Play Store. We have over 4.8 rated reviews when it comes to the Apple Play Store. Apple iOS, and then 4.6 stars when it comes to the Google. We have over 2.3 times more likely connections that are built through the web, through the actual app versus the web, which just goes to show you how powerful that is. I can't tell you the number of times I was actually in a conference recently in Arizona, and I met this lovely student who goes to Arizona State University, and she said she found her job where she was working on Handshake, and she was using the actual app to find her job. So true stories, everywhere you go, you'll find someone who's either engaged in Handshake or has been using Handshake and has had an opportunity where they actually learned more about their own self. So this is a little bit about us. I know part of the journey we've talked about here is 100% been Handshake, but we want to shift gears a little bit here and tell you a little bit about who we are. My journey was not a traditional coming of age, so to speak. I did not go to college right out of high school. I actually worked in the workforce for quite a few years, and I didn't go to college until I was about 26. But I got there, and I learned so much about myself in the journey, and I really realized that I was meant to work in education. And so I worked in education as a teacher first, and then I dove into higher education as an administrator and in career services. And now I'm at Handshake. So full circle moment experience, but it's always been the mission of impacting students and helping them succeed in their career and their passions and their journey, which has really motivated me to go where I'm going and where I want to be.
Hello again. So I am Kelly. I have a little bit about my story here. I will say that when I got my first job, when I was at San Diego State, I actually went into the Career Center, and there was a bulletin board with printed out jobs on it. So that I think is not an experience that most people have anymore. And it's just so exciting to be at Handshake, where all of you are going to have access to these opportunities that are not pinned up on a bulletin board. My path was also kind of interesting. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in English, which I have heard is a dying major maybe at this point, but maybe I'm one of those dinosaurs that's left with it. But I kind of got my initial start in publishing at a company that did college textbooks. And so that was kind of my into education. And I was there for quite some time, and then found my way to Handshake. So it's really exciting to be back helping out in the education space.
So we left this slide here kind of intentionally, but unintentionally. Obviously, you're a high school student, and your parents are probably saying, go download this now. You could download it, but there's not a whole lot you can do. What we wanted to do is make sure that you're aware of how to access Handshake and where to go. Ultimately, the experience starts the first day you step on a college campus, whether you're going to a community college or four-year school. Likely that they'll have Handshake at this point, but if they don't be afraid. You can actually use Handshake as long as your school has a .edu email address. So it's only accessible right now to students who are in college that have a .edu email address. So if your college doesn't have Handshake yet, doesn't mean you can't access it. It is always going to be free for students, no matter where you are. So if you want to wait a couple of months, if you're a senior, or if you want to wait a year, if you're a junior or so, don't be shy to go ahead and download the app, but you can search it on the Apple App Store. Sorry, I'm not an Apple user, so that comes off hard for me to say, or Google Play Store. So yeah, that's where you can access it. We want to take the opportunity to also give time for Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to come off of mute or drop your question in the chat. That's what we're here for. And I know there's parents here, and they always have questions. So some of my favorite audiences are parents.
Jose Miguel, we actually had a question come in through Q&A from Irene, asking about if it can be used to find summer jobs while in high school and summer internships for college students. I think you touched on that point for high school students, that If you don't have that .edu email address right now, you're likely not going to be able to access Handshake. If you are, getting ready to transition into college and maybe you have access to that email, then you could definitely set that up for yourself. But this is certainly, we did talk a lot about jobs, but internships as a whole, there's a whole world of internships that are posted on Handshake as well. So yes, 100%. That is something that you can actually filter for, search for specifically for an internship, for a part-time job, for a full-time job. So really quite a bit that you can do there once you're in college with that email address.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Irene.
Anyone else have any questions or anything you'd like to maybe learn a little bit more about with Handshake? Had anyone heard of Handshake before this? Curious to hear that, or if this was something kind of completely new.
That's a good question. If you've heard of Handshake, drop a 1 in the chat if you don't want to come off of mute. If you've never heard of Handshake, put a 2 in the chat. It's always a good way of engaging people and seeing what they say. Okay. Oh, 2.
Mixture.
Wow, got a mixed boat here.
Very
So
cool.
here's another question, since we've got a mixed boat here. For those of you who, it's a very mixed bag here. So for those of you who hadn't heard about Handshake, type in one word that surprised you the most about what you heard about today. Yes. That is something that is part of our mission, and we strive for that every single day. That fills my heart to see that come across the screen. I know there's more of you out there that had too, so.
I'd say one thing with accessibility now that we're seeing quite a bit of are virtual career fairs. There was obviously a pretty big pivot during COVID around having an in-person fair. So some of that with accessibility is also really great. It's very easy for students to go to a career fair from the comfort of their own home. So it really does make some of these connections much easier to make. You don't necessarily have to be in person, and you can really connect with someone, as Jose Miguel was talking about, if you want to move to New York, right? If you have a desire to kind of look in a different location for a job, even after school, it's a really great way to kind of have that level of accessibility with different employers.
Yeah, and something to add to that is that there's also opportunities where, the career services office for many of these universities and colleges are monitoring, the opportunities for students. So if you're concerned about your student applying to a job that may seem a little bit shady, we have lots of measures and precautions on the Handshake side to help eliminate some of the angst or stress or anxiety that many career services office have around positions. We do know that there's a lot of international students that attend college in the US, so we do have international positions as well. And so there is quite a few opportunities out there internationally, but also we have a very strict process in how an employer is actually added into Handshake. So accessibility from that perspective is really important. Can you clarify, please? Can you please clarify if this is for both internships and co-ops or mostly jobs? That is a great question, Leslie. So this is actually for all of the above. So Handshake is a really inclusive all-in-one platform. It's not just for the student who's getting ready to graduate. It's actually for the student that's coming to college, looking for their first internship, looking for that co-op, looking for the applied learning opportunity, and then for those who are preparing to find their first job after college, or the student who has graduated college and decided to restart a new career. What if you have a niche interest in linguistics? So that's a great question, Leslie. So if you have a niche interest in linguistics, one of the things you want to do is making sure in your profile, you put that as your interest. You can type in pretty much anything you want, but you also can search by keywords. We want to make sure that users know that you have to do a little bit of work when it comes to showcasing in the product and the software that you have an interest in something in order for the algorithm to actually come back and tell you what's available to you. So you can do a keyword search to say full-time jobs in, I don't know, Denver in linguistics. And if there's a position in linguistics in Denver, then it'll show up for you. That's obviously a very specific keyword search, but you have the ability to add as much or as little as you want. That search bar will become your best friend, but I would encourage everyone to put that into their profile. Yes. So that's one of the cool things about Handshake. Do you want to answer this one, Kelly?
No, I'm just smiling because it seems like it's like we planted Leslie here to ask like some really good really good questions, and we did not.
Yeah, no, I love these questions and I get excited about it. So yes, one of the things that for me personally, my story, I actually worked in career services and I purchased Handshake for my institution. And one of the reasons I purchased it was because I wanted to make sure my students who are attending college could connect with the alumni that graduated from our school that were looking to recruit other students from where they graduated from. So we have a really unique messaging tool, and we also have a feature where students can search for students that have the same major, or students can search for students that have the same degree. So in relationship to alumni, they're on the application, they're on at Handshake. The universities and colleges as well have the ability to curate opportunities from alumni at the institution that are hiring and recruiting students. So there's a lot of ways that that connection can happen, and you can work with them. You're welcome. That mentoring piece comes in really hot when it's that type of opportunity. There's like a peer messaging tool, which is kind of what this alumni feature kind of works with, that allows you to see students from other institutions that have the same major. And it shows you if their profile is public, it actually allows you to see where they've worked. And students actually connect that way to learn more about how a student may have gotten a job at, let's say, KPMG, which is a big accounting firm. A student can then connect with that other student and find out who the recruiter is, and then the recruiter can share information about a job. So it's a really interwoven web of opportunities.
We've got just maybe 1 or 2 minutes left in our session. Are there any last lingering questions for Kelly and Jose Miguel? Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Kelly and Jose Miguel. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise. And this is definitely something I want to explore more too. Thank you so much, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you for
Have a good
having
night.
us.
Thank you
Take
for
care.
coming.